Cindy. Just hanging out. I guess I'll call you Heavenly Bitchy. What's your name? I think I remember. I think you just started following each other today. What's up, bud? Hey, I'm waiting for Kayla. Hey, yeah. Hey, whimsical waffle. What's your name, whimsical waffle? Hi, Narissa. Hey, what's up? Funny. Interesting. Oh, hey, you're here. They're from India. Well, you still have a name, don't you? Thanks. Yeah, that's a different one than I usually write. The cherry poem. Try to use like even stanzas and everything. Hey, what's up?
Not much. Cold. You?
Not too cold here. I mean, it's California, so I mean, you know.
Yeah.
But
True.
it's still not its usual sunny. So I mean, it's a little sunny outside, but I've just been hanging out, not doing shit today.
Yeah. I was looking over some stuff on Plato a little bit, and Aristotle.
Cool. What's up, Melvin? Yeah, like I said, I was re-looking into the allegory of the cave, and then like it got me into like a couple different things. Like it got me into like David Hume's fork, and then that started how Kant then sent a rebuttal to that after like 10 years, where he crossed the tongs of the prongs of the fork, and then I went back to the cave. So I spent a lot of time last night reading. So.
I know the cave thing, but I don't know what you're talking about with the fork.
I think it's just talking about like sort of enlightenment in the sense of how we have empiricism, we have things that we can truly sense in a way, and then we have the other prong, which is sort of the theoretical deduction of our reality in a sense. You know, like even things
so
like E equals MC squared, you know what I mean? Just or sort of empirical sciences that aren't things that our senses perceive, but through experiment or whatever, we can actually prove that it is a true reality of the world. You know what I mean? Rather than just sort of our perception or something like that.
I know Plato favored Plato and Aristotle favored thoughts over sensory perception, but Plato thought that your senses could fool you, and Aristotle was more like, you need this in order to develop like an accurate perception of reality. And I think it's actually a culmination of both. Like, your ego can allow your senses to be fooled because you perceive something based on everything you've learned up until that moment. But if you're coming from a place of higher self or like enlightenment, then you're a lot more apt to make the better decision, the better thing. So it's like a mixture of both, in my opinion.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, it's obvious that there's all these great people that discuss on this matter, and they all have similarities in a sense, and they all have differences. And so even that saying, I mean, these are people that dedicated the entirety of their life to the study of this, and then people come back decades later or centuries later, and not necessarily,
it's all wrong,
but give their
but
own,
add to it and
their own
sort of,
truth to it. And then I just feel like we're so blessed in this time where we have all this stuff, and that's why I don't even necessarily fully agree with any of it, but I don't disagree with it. You know what I mean? It's kind of like I take my own little bits and pieces of it, and
yeah. I mean, we're all interconnected. Like we were talking about last night, we're all energy, and we're all always exchanging energy. There's no way that we can't take someone else's perception into our own ideals because we're hearing it. We can't just avoid it. Our subconscious isn't taking it, and even if our conscious mind isn't. So we're always taking other things, and if we're consciously doing it, then we can develop a more truer idea of self, I feel.
And I think we were talking about how we also have similarities and differences, and it's sort of just that openness and that willingness to understand each other, and to understand that you're not infallible. You know what I mean? Like your way of being is not, and then you can't also totally accept somebody's opinion as your own either. I just don't think that's giving yourself the proper. Because all these people would agree that all this stuff takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, and it's not necessarily an easy thing. So, I mean, if something's easy, I always we talked about balance, how it should be easy in a sense, but it should also be hard because I don't like to completely say something is this. It's always
that's black and white.
Yeah.
I have a poem on that, and you always find truths in the gray, the area that's the unconscious. That's how I define it. You have the black and white, and then you have the gray, and that's where you find the truths, in my perception. But we each have our own perception of things, and we each have our own way of deducing information to develop our own truth. And some people take it from a mental point of view, some people emotional, some people spiritual. So there's no way that anyone can compare themselves to anyone. It's just illogical because we are all on completely different paths. We've all experienced completely different things. Our souls are probably different ages. Getting off topic. Yeah.
Well, I always thought before too. I always thought of like the age of the soul, because does a soul doesn't decay, right, over time, like body?
No.
If anything, it progresses, right? It's almost like the Benjamin Button of a human, or in a sense, right? Where you start out as an old man or something, and then I guess you don't turn into a baby. That wouldn't be a good one, but I don't know. I guess it's more.
Not the worst comparison, though. A baby is the most wide-eyed and enlightened because they don't have all the bunch of shit that people have taught them yet in their mind. So they can see everything. They can perceive everything in their own way. So I think that's the most pure form of perception, in my opinion. In the arthropod form.
That was what was the you referred to like the reptile class. What was the word? I think in the beginning of that verse.
Ophidian family.
Ophidian. Yeah, it automatically got me thinking of like Ophelia, you know what I mean, or something like that for some reason, like Shakespeare.
Yeah. And that makes me think of, Ophelia, you belong with me. No?
Yeah, the Lumineers song. Cool. So do you want to read some poems?
Yeah. You can go first if you want.
Alright, yeah, cool. I'll read Aaron, who's Wolf in the Gray Cloud, because he just came here. What's up, dude? He sent me 2 poems. One of them's a little, I read it earlier, it's a little R-rated, but that's alright. I think we're all adults here. Anyways, the first one's it's called The Rest of Eternity. She's the call over the mountains from below the deep blue sea, and the only one who won't drown within the darkest depths of me. I pray one day to meet her and love her as she deserves, to finally hold back my demons and also love with endless courage. But she would never cause me pain with actions or her words, and I will also love her more than all the bees and all the birds. with a love that's always gentle, soft, pure, and kind, from now until forever, until the end of time. So wherever my twin flame may be, I hope she also feels my soul's answer quantumly, so two may become one with love eternally. I know that I already love her for the rest of eternity. That's called The Rest of Eternity. Yeah. There's some very nice sentiments in it. I also like it because it goes back to what we said about the gray of people, and the knowingness of people that, generally when we first meet somebody, especially when we're talking about courtships, we want to portray like our best self. Generally, we don't like to go into, well, hey, these are all the sort of parts of me that
nitty-gritty
yeah, and so I think sometimes people can love your light, and then when they discover your darkness, they just can't handle it. You know what I mean?
Right,
and I think you go ahead.
I was just thinking, I think it's because they haven't faced their own darkness. They're not ready for other people's darkness if they haven't faced their own.
Yeah, I mean, true too. Because a lot of times I think it's the similarities in the darkness that you've experienced, and sort of the malevolence around it, and then you cast that, or you transfer that onto the associations of that person's darkness. You know what I mean? In the sense that somebody's done something similar to you, or you were in a similar type of experience or whatever, but just for some reason, since that person has had that experience, it brings back things that, and then you seeing that person or being around that person and that knowingness of that creates that sort of weird association, I think, sometimes for people. And a lot of people don't even see it. It's like a subconscious thing.
That's what energy is. If you don't try to discover it in yourself, and what your own intentions are when forming a relationship with someone in any way, and you discover something just that you really don't like, or something about them, and you take it and you can distort it in your own way and perceive it in your own way, and that affects the entire swirl of the relationship, because you can have two types of relationships. There's many types, but you can add to it, or you can sort of take away. So adding positive energy or negative energy to it. And so if you can add positive energy still when you're like realizing someone's darkness and someone's the worst parts of them. So I really believe that it's all in how far you've met yourself inside. Because if you don't meet yourself, you cannot meet other people's darkness. You can't meet their light either. If you're always in the negative, you cannot deal with the light. That's why people, like the masses, try to pull down the ones that go higher, that are enlightened, that are following their dreams, because you should do this, you should do that, and you should follow this, because they're not ready for the light, because they haven't faced anything inside themselves.
And it's just funny because I just think about energy in general, and I think about, like the protons and the neutrons and the electrons. You know what I mean? And the positive and the negative charges and the neutrality too. In the sense that we have to understand both our, all of that. Our positive charges, our negative charges, and then that sense of neutrality in the sense that you can't always agree to everything. You know what I mean? And then a lot of these things are also passionate things, or they're things that really matter. But we're all people, and we're all very different, and we're all sort of chemically made up in a different way, yet we are similar in the sense that we can understand each other, through like time and effort, and that sense of like, just your way of being isn't the only way of being,
Right. Yeah.
I'm gonna read a second poem. This one's so if anybody doesn't like a little bit of erotica, I don't know if this is a good time. As I take you from behind, feel you push back into me. I feel my troubles leave my mind and the changes as you breathe. I push myself balls deep inside of your tight ass. I know you're feeling me when I hear you gasp. Your legs start buckling in pleasure. Love drips down both our legs as I finally take your treasure. You know better than anyone my power is beyond all measure. I feel more than all your desire. I keep pushing harder until you can't stand the heat of all my fire. Leaving you in ashes of this carnal pyre, it's not over until your legs cannot shaking and our sweats dripping from the love that we are making. As our senses explode in orgasmic quaking and you feel me inside you for several days as you come again so secretly whilst reminiscing about my fiery ways of ravishing you again in my infernal's blaze. In my inferno's blaze.
Yeah. That is really descriptive. I like it.
Yeah. And I mean, you know, we live in a free place. You know what I mean? And we talk about perceptions and we talk about judgments and we talk about all these things. People say and do and express many things. And the intent of it, that stuff takes time. You know what I mean? And I think that's what art is. Like, you sit there and you look at a painting, it's easily dismissed now, or, you know, it's beautiful. Oh, yeah, cool. Wow. You know what I mean? But if you're really like an artist and you're really about expression and you're really about people and you're really about to like the depth of things, I think you could like really look in it and you see every little detail of it, and then you think about what it means and what it represents, and you think, you know what I mean, and then you go on with it. You take your own
story.
stuff.
A whole story waiting to be discovered, I feel like, in each poem. And it's different for every person. That's why poetry is just, and story writing, all of it is so creative because everyone perceives it differently and can take the emotions differently.
Yeah. You want to go?
Yeah. So I'm gonna read a few by Yours in Poetry. This is Mackie.
Yeah.
She's a sweetheart. Have you been putting the handle in the comments?
No, but I will. It's Yours in Poetry, right?
Yeah. Okay. So this is called Licking Ashes. That's just how it goes, doesn't it? You're all alone in the stillness, alone with thought and putrid fire, which keeps well fed by demons in your head from the woodpile of my sanity. It's not fair, burning, while I lick the fallen ashes from the ground. This is about how I feel this is about how your demons can just take over, no matter how much you want to reach for the light, you keep licking the ground, you keep touching the pain, you keep grabbing the demons and holding on to them because you can't let go. And you're in this cycle of ego, of a negative thought pattern, of something that you can't get out of. And I totally resonate with that. So
yeah, and I always think about sort of the highs and the lows of things, especially with things that we do in life and the communications that we make and the connections, in the sense that you know, like when you really love somebody deeply and then you have to fall from that kind of thing. It's so hard, even after you've gotten over it in a sense, and you're trying to ascend back into the same kind of connections or communications with people. You always have to look back down sometimes. You know, it's just so hard to break out of that habit, in the sense that I remember falling down there. You know what I mean? I remember licking those ashes. I remember, you know, everything I thought just burning up and becoming sort of nothing in a sense. Where I had to rebuild, and it's something that takes lots of time to recover from. So I mean, I read a lot of things like this, and they're always very powerful because I think it's something that I think all of us really do.
yeah, I really think that the root of it is in emotion and attachment to emotion. Wherever that anger, wherever that pain is in your body, it can culminate, and how it represses itself is it plays these cycles, these thought patterns over and over. And in different situations, you perceive kind of the same thing, or you're paranoid of this, or you can't trust that or something. And it just keeps going back because there's an emotion trapped in you that you are attached to, that you have not let go yet of. And I really feel like that's where the root of it is. You know, thoughts come from something. They come from your subconscious, they come from your unconscious, but that even comes from your heart, that comes from your soul. Like, it's been proven that the heart processes information before the brain even does. So it's like, I really feel like that's where the root of it is. And yeah, I'll read another one of hers, which is really good. fight. Take me into the blue abyss of your naked eyes. Hold me down by my throat in your deep dark waters till the demons of doubt drown, bearing the innocence of lust. Brush my hair back from my face to see my soul as I explode, and tourniquet my caress around your fist, each hair follicle submitting one by one, exposing my raw, bold sex, hungry to be devoured by you, but not all in one bite. And I will lay, arms outstretched, trembling, because baby, I'm ready for the food fight. I didn't realize that was so sexual. I didn't read it before. So, got a couple different topics today. I really like that, though.
Yeah, that's very layered, metaphorically. You know what I mean? And it's very primal, and very carnal. But
yes.
there's also a sort of purity of intimacy in a sense, in the same senses as we think of like that sexual sort of primal desire and just sort of visceral. I think she's trying to convey like sort of that really true bear, like
like flesh, like physical, all physical, and more.
Even the that visceral sense of the soul of just like it's a intensity.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
The passion.
Good job, Mac. That was great. Those are two great poems.
Yeah.
Okay, so let me see what I got here. I'll read. There'll be a replay. I'm gonna read. Let me type it in.
I'm burning dinner. Don't burn your dinner.
Alright.
Oh my.
So I think I actually have 3 poems with them, but they're not very long. I think what I'll do is I'll just read each one and just give a little break between each one, and then after each one we can discuss them. I think they're similar in senses. So this is the first one. There's no title. Learn to break free off the shackles from your past retreats. Let go of the memories from your vast defeats. Let the light gild you home, the one ignited by hope, for you'd never be alone. Circumvent from obscurity, for you'd never be perfect, but you're always worth it. While weary hearts frizzle, let yours triple with endearing euphoria. Practice the art of living, void of merely existing, yet clutch into the panorama of your soul's desires. And that's the first one. Here's the second one. You hold a cudgel in your hands to beat me with. You bear grudges at heart to judge me with. Your eyes burns with incentives, whilst you stare daggers at me. You speculate at the stands predicting my fall. You leave me with silent recriminations, my wrinkled face, my broken ego cast in an expression of despair. Dear toxic society, I refuse to conform to your norms, play the cards according to your rules, live my life as replicate to your paintings, but I will lead life I truly deserve. I will howl in pains to your punishments, but never lose me to you. I don't wish you'd understand this. I hope you die off. Well, that's how it ended. Oh, shit. But never lose me to you. I don't wish you'd understand this. I hope you die off.
No, that is so deep. I think he's talking about extinction of like the societal norms.
Yeah. I think you're right.
That's a really deep. Oh my gosh, great poem. That's a deep analogy there.
And he's a very young writer. I think he might be like 16 or 17. But yeah, it's the thinking, the identity here, the toxic society sort of contaminating your identity, trying to control it, trying to alter it to the norms, especially if you don't necessarily. And I always hate to say norms because I do think that it's a lot of people's natural inclination to be certain ways that are considered norms. And then we kind of give a negative connotation to somebody that is normal in some senses. Like, oh, like you're like other people. You know what I mean? Like it's a fault or something. It's not necessarily that. I think we're talking about it in sort of sort of the negative aspects of it.
Yeah. I mean, for me, I learned about norms when I was a lot younger, but they never made sense to me. I didn't really understand why you had to be a certain way, and now I really don't think you have to comply with norms. We're in a time when we're coming into more of a time where you can be completely yourself. Yeah, people still will look at you and judge you, whatever, but you have that confidence to get over it, to grow from it, to take it and strive. Whereas, years ago, back 20 years ago, you would have probably been kind of shunned from society a bit. I mean, maybe not the 70s. I think they smoked a lot of pot then. Or was that the LSD stage? I don't know. But,
I think people have been doing that shit for a long time. I think that's just when people all came out and were like, yeah.
There was a certain time that it was like really popular.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I was just gonna say mostly about that is that I don't know. I totally lost it because I smoked some earlier, but that was Station Rider. Yeah, he does have one more. I'm gonna read one more poem, and then we can talk on it too. 16 years old.
Mm-hmm.
It was hard to digest. You built the wall that divides us. Everything in between was destroyed. 16 years I've lived, equivalent to a golden jubilee. Ghostly acting, flawless public facade, masking unnerving reverie. I excellently put up. In darkened box you dwell, gassed in poison, swank in hatred. I recall the early childhood, teary-eyed, tired nights, bad breaths, torn clothes, broken glasses, sis screams, mom's pleas, my whimpers, fuck you, I spit. With a crude mindset, I tasted fear to dust and bone. Fear, I say, agitates the hearts of the petulant. For I've crushed monsters with 5-star ratings.
With 5-star what?
Ratings. Monsters with 5-star ratings. So I think he's trying to. I always wonder about. We talk about sort of like this accomplishment of the things that we've overcome in life. You know what I mean?
Accomplishment of. I'm sorry, I missed what you said.
The accomplishment of the overcoming of the strife and the sort of bad things that are happened in our life. You know what I mean? I think it's good in a sense that we can view it that way as sort of a victory in a sense. I think that's giving it a good quality rather than seeing it as the defeat.
Yeah.
I think you have to recognize the truth, because I think sometimes, in a sense, it can be false. We like to, because I think that is a norm. It is a norm in the sense that we see our accomplishments and give it, when we really connect with people a lot of the times, we don't want to tell them that it still affects us. That it is still a weakness, that we still haven't quite overcome it. A lot of times we will tell or reveal something to somebody in a way that is, hey, I overcame this. This is me telling you about this part of, this is me telling you about this part of my life. But I'm not going to tell you that really even deeper, darker truth of the fact that that shit still eats away at me. You know what I mean?
But you can do that.
What's that?
You can do that, I feel, too, when you yourself know your truth and have actually let it go, which is absolutely possible, but I completely agree with you that it is a very normal thing to go and take something and not, I just lost my train of thought completely. Oh, goodness. Okay. go back to what you just said so I can maybe pick up where I was.
I mean, he's saying I've crushed monsters with 5-star ratings. I think what he's pretty much saying is that he's faced the worst kind of demons. He's faced the worst kind of monsters, and he crushes them. And it's a very visceral thing. He's saying that, he's not just saying he's gotten past it, or he's overcome it, or he's crushed it. You know what I mean? And that sort of shows somebody's perspective on things, on how they deal with things.
Yeah.
We all deal with things differently. Some people are very calm, and some people are very passive, and then some people, they're like trains or hammers, and they have to crush things. Like, it brings into the idea of a building or destroying. You know what I mean? It's very, I think, especially because he's a 16-year-old young man. You know what I mean? So I think as you're growing up, you have a conflict within the light and the darkness of yourself. The light says, and they both can seem good and tempting, because in some ways you would discuss the true enlightenment of it. But let's say light is building, darkness is destroying. If there's a monster, can you build a monster into something else? Can you alter it? Is it malleable, or do you have to destroy it? If you have to destroy something, it's a violent thing sometimes.
Oh, yeah. I just want to address this comment and ask this person to leave the chat room.
I hit the live video from them, so they shouldn't be here.
How are they in the...
Maybe you have to do it too. You can click it and then hide your live video from them.
How do I do that?
Just click on the comment, and then they should be able to hide live video from them.
It's spam or scam or abusive content.
Uh-oh.
Okay. And can you hear me?
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know whether that person was still there, but I had done that in the middle of like our conversation or something, because I didn't really address it. But sorry about that. But anyways, thank you. That was at the Sensation Writer. He was a very talented young man. And I was just, I was mostly just discussing the fact that, sometimes you have to, there's good, and like you said, the gray. If you have violence towards you, or you have other things towards you, sometimes you have to do questionably ethical things, in a sense that, let's say somebody's attacking you physically. I mean, you have to fight back. You know what I mean? You have to defend yourself. I mean, do you just allow somebody to beat on you, or?
Well, you could learn pressure points and get them the pressure point that passes them out, so you don't have to harm them.
Yeah.
I know. I get what you're saying.
Well, I won't ever fuck with you. No, because you studied. But I studied certain stuff like that too. Sort of passively incapacitating somebody. In a way.
Happens.
So did you have somebody? You have somebody you want to read?
Yes, I have. So this one is from Sky Racer 42. I don't actually. You know what? I think I know of someone else that's already in the live. I'll do his. Okay, so yeah.
Hi, Joe. Hi, John. Thanks for being here.
I teach my son to grip and push away. Oh, that's that's really good. Okay, so this is from Melvin Spills Ink. Really, really good writer. So it's called Hairdresser on Fire. It was all very awkward, soothing for hysteria, spooning her close, plucking tangles from her hair, sitting up from my bed, streetlight shining in her eye. It was her call to freedom. She put her black panties back on, grabbed her black purse, black leather jacket, showing herself the door without even saying goodbye or fuck you. I like that. I like that one a lot. It's, I think it represents like the freedom from doing your own thing and the independence, what you would expect versus what happens. I don't know. That's how I take it, at least.
You know, and it's funny because I'll give Melvin, Phil, by the way. It's funny because when you read the end of it and you're like, black this, black that, it automatically in my mind, I was like, that's a lot of black. You know, like I would, you know, like when you think about poetry, you're like, oh. And then like, I just thought about it right now and I really thought about it. And when he talks about indifference and he talks about somebody that kind of doesn't give a fuck, and then he's talking about black, and sort of that blandness and that repetitiveness and that sort of lack of difference, or, you know what I mean? That's fucking cool right there. That's cool right there. I really like that. Like when I really thought about that, and I don't know if that was intended, and I don't know any of that, but like when I really sit there and think about that, I think that's awesome. That's cool right there.
Yeah, I really like that perception. I think it could also be describing her blandness with her shadows, or like black everything.
Yeah, and I think it's even cool in the sense that it's simply complex, in the sense that it can mean so many things, and so many spectrums of things, and that's cool to leave it up to somebody to sit there and
figure it out
as they may. You know, rather than just throwing it in your face like, hey, this is what it is. You're like, you're leaving it there, and it's like a platter of different things, and people are like, oh, shit, you know?
Those are some of my favorite poems.
Yeah.
Where it's really just elusive.
Yeah, or cryptic in a sense. You know?
Yeah.
Anyways, that's cool.
Well,
you have another one?
Yes, I do.
That's cool.
He didn't send me this other one, but I'm going to read it.
Yeah, I like to read too most of the time.
Yeah. Yeah, like this one. Women are born poets. Once they figure out words, men can become poets. Once they figure out themselves. I think this goes so deep for me because women are the feminine energy, the energy of the moon. Men are the natural masculine energy, the energy of the sun. Of course, everyone has both, yin and yang. But women are born poets in that poetry a lot of the times is very emotional. It's emotions and gooey, like just spilled thoughts. And for those emotions that you don't know, maybe that's how your catharsis. But I think for women, it's natural to express those emotions. And the moon helps us do that. Our femininity helps us do that. And for guys, they have to look at themselves. They're the sun. They're brighting everyone else up, but they have to really look at themselves. They're not the moon. They have to turn around and figure out their emotions, figure out how to what they mean, and then they can put it onto paper. I think that's my perception of it. A really great piece though. Short.
No, like I'm totally feeling you, and I have something to say on this. But I know that he's here, but I'm just gonna put up his handle just so like if people.
Oh yeah, thank you.
I think I got it right.
Thank you.
Okay, cool. Oh yeah, of course. Because I was thinking of the difference between truly understanding your nature and denying your nature. They will give you perceptions in both the female perspective and the male perspective of negative stereotypes and negative characteristics. And we talked about societal norms, right? That makes people growing up and going through life and developing into both men and women. It gives them this ideology that they should deny nature. That they push it away. That it like we talked about, a building or a destruction. Instead of a building of understanding of your nature. And it doesn't mean that you have to be that way. See, that's the thing. It's easy. It's lazy. You're either this way or you're this way. You're either a man or you're not a man, or you know what I mean. You're either a woman or you're not a woman. You're either bad or good. It's so lazy,
The
Kayla.
black and white.
It's
Black and white.
the gray, because the gray is hard, because the gray is vast. The gray
Found.
is humanity. It's true humanity.
And there's so much truth to be found in the gray that you can. It's just so much easier. Like my poem the other day, dealing with facts. It's so much easier to act because it's there. It's that way. You know it.
Yeah,
you can hold on to.
Yeah, I remember that poem.
But something else, something as elusive as an emotion. Well, you really have to. You have to learn to look at yourself and find that inside and not be in a box, but be in a building where you're building up and up and up and higher. With your roots planted firmly in the ground. I really like the tree metaphor. They have their roots planted firmly in the ground, but at the same time, you're growing up, you're flourishing, you're nourishing yourself. You're not an inanimate object.
And then Joe says, I think that has changed so much in recent years for the better. And I think that's true through the different avenues of global communication and true understanding of each other. Because I think as a people, we always talk about time. We don't have time for things and stuff like that. And a lot of times I think that's an illusion.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
That's another aspect of laziness in the sense that that's our sort of tap out. Well, I don't got time. You know what I mean? It's like me and you could sit there and have an in-depth conversation with just littered with just all kinds of different perspectives and ideologies and just sort of going back and forth. We could do that in an hour. If you really are engaged and really into it and you're really into elongated expression and thought, and you practice it, it doesn't take much time anymore. I can truly tell you that, and I'm not trying to say that I'm some kind of crazy fucking I know everything. That's not it. It's just that I make the effort into knowingness, into understanding, and a lot of times it's because I don't think that I know enough, and because I think I need to know somebody more, or I need to know more things. Because to me, knowingness is a tricky thing for me,
Well, for me, this is going back to when I was studying college, but whenever I would take in information, I never understood how people were just okay with memorizing facts. I needed to understand everything, because it's all connected, everything, and every subject, even stuff I wasn't interested in, even, in everything, and philosophy was one of my favorites, because it was so interconnected, because you really have to grasp that. You can't just, and that's the thing, it's not simple. It's never black and white. There's always more to everything, and that can get so overwhelming for people. And I think just in life in general, that's why it's so important to take it one grain at a time and to not take everyone else's perceptions into consideration. Always, when you're trying to find your own self, it can get very overwhelming.
And I had wrote a poem of, I don't know, a month or two ago about it's not the destination, it's the pursuit. And I really don't remember quite reading this, but Plato said he said something like it is the path, not the destination. On the path to enlightenment or wisdom or whatever you want to define it as. And I think those types of things are just little lights around, like a person is enlightenment, a place that you live in is an enlightenment. The things
a terrible traumatic experience.
Yeah, and then even calling that enlightenment would offend some people. They're like, how can you know what I mean? But that is how you have to view it, because that thing has then happened. It now exists in your sort of reality. You know what I mean? Especially if you're talking about sort of the mind or the heart or the soul, and you think of these things as actual parts of reality. You have to I think a lot of people, it's funny because a lot of people accept heart and they accept soul as part of reality, but then they don't realize how much those things affect and how much
they're all connected, mind, body, and soul. All of it.
And then you don't tend to it. It's like you're looking at something and you know it's there, but you don't ever talk to it or you don't ever really ask it questions and get to know it and know what it all means. You know what I mean? It's just kind of sitting there. You're like, yeah, I got a heart. Yeah, I love things.
That's
the
thing.
It's like Melvin.
Yeah,
it's black. It's like that's it.
It's never going past the surface when you do that. Your heart is your emotions. Your soul is your higher wisdom. That's your enlightenment. Your mind should be the servant to the soul, but a lot of times the soul can be the servant to the mind if people choose their thoughts over the self. And that's what it comes down to. You have to, if you work out all the time, but you don't feed your mind with good things, and your soul, if you don't feed your soul, then you're very adept physically, but you forget about other things, so you're not connected. But if you're very spiritual, but you're not taking care of your body is neglected. So there's a balance in everything, and that's finding that balance is the uncertainty, is the wavering uncertainty, the constant flow of change. The only phenomenon that exists that's perception. Yeah, I think the comments are little.
Yeah, Joe. And then I was just thinking back to the allegory of the cave and those types of things, like the physicality of our nature, in the sense that, oh, this is something that's beautiful, or this is something that's aspired to. And then I think we look at those things and say, oh, well, if you work out and you look good, like people will like you, and then people judge you that that's wrong to aspire to, in the sense that you should look good or your best self. But if it is a true reflection, in a positive way, in the sense that makes you feel good, that feeds your soul, that feeds your heart, that makes you become a better, more enlightened person, that is part of what your path is, then that's beautiful. You know what I mean? But if it is a shadow, and it is being casted by the puppeteers and the false fire, you know what I mean? As to, well, this is self-worth. This is path to soul. But you don't actually truly believe that. You're just buying into it, because that is the societal norm, and that's what's telling you happiness is. That's what telling you path is.
That's why it all comes back to, that's why it all comes back to not allowing other people's thought processes to affect you. Yes, take their perception, but do not allow their thoughts to affect you. You have to protect yourself, your own energy, in order to go inside, in order to dive deep into your own truths. So you don't take a norm, so you don't take something, so you take that and put it in here and feed your ego with a bunch of garbage that could or couldn't be true, you have to go inside, and you have to find that out for yourself. But first, you have to realize when you're thinking about more other people's thoughts rather than your own. And that's how I feel.
Yeah. I think, so on this one we still have 11 minutes left. Okay, cool. I'm going to read Joe, because she's here. As She Touches Light. And this is a great poem. Joe loves horses, very much so. And my name, Philip, is lover of horses. That's the, I guess, the etymology of it, I believe is the word. And I don't know is it called Just Grazing here? I don't know if that's the title or that's just a caption, but the wild roaming horse is always mindful of the pack, but pays them no mind, aware that they will come for her and her loved ones, but not afraid if they do. For the strength lies within the ground it roams on, and needs no other battle partner than the strong heart that beats within its chest. The pack may feel strong as it roams looking to feed, but it forgets that its strength is also its weakness. For it binds itself to all of its members, making thoughts and decisions on the actions of one. The wild horse is a forever free, even if caught and shackled to a fence in a field. No amount of chain would tame the heart. When it feeds its stallion, or when it finds its stallion, they will roam together for a lifetime, forever connected to each other and bound by the earth they roam upon. No stable is needed, should the pack try to come for them with their silent sneak attack, followed by sharp teeth and claws. They will learn the wild horse and her stallion are impenetrable, and also have teeth to bite back, strong legs to break ribs, a strong heart to fight, and a will of pure steel to protect. So walk by, pack. Don't come looking for food off the rib cage. No feast for you here. And that's her first poem. And that speaks that speaks to societal norms and the sort of pack and the mob mentality and the groupings of things. And if you don't necessarily fit
in that description,
yeah, I mean there's nothing wrong with that, and sometimes it's a more freeing thing. It's more of a connection of, especially in like when I think of Jo, she always showed me these pictures of these castles, and she loves taking pictures of horses. She has some friends that are horses, I believe, which is just a lovely and a beautiful thing. And then it's in the sense that we live in sort of these concrete jungles now, that we've manufactured over nature. And the natural world, and then a lot of people proclaim, "Oh yeah, I love nature and I love trees and stuff like that," and then they live in their concrete jungles, and then they don't help anything for the preservations of these types of things, and you know what I mean?
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people are like they contradict themselves in what they're doing. Their actions don't correlate with their thoughts, and the thing is that has to happen. If your beliefs become your thoughts and your thoughts become your actions, but if you're thinking something on a moral level and you know it's wrong and you're doing it, you're contradicting yourself. You're creating this wall inside that
you're seeing a shadow. You know what I mean?
Yes, well, yeah, exactly. And you can overcome that. You can integrate that. But you have to do things. The only way you're going to be happy, and I believe true happiness, is following your higher self. Surpassing the ego drive, well, I wanna cut down my forest because it's gonna look better. Well, it helps you breathe, right? So maybe let's not do that for a superficial look. Maybe let's not mow our lawn when it's actually pertinent to the ecosystem, for the bugs. But people don't know that because they go out and they mow their lawn because that's what everyone does in the summer. They like their lawns to look good. They don't care about the minuscule bugs. They don't care about the bigger, and I'm alluding to animals, but it's that way for all of the environment too. So,
well, and I'm mostly talking about education too. I mean,
that too.
We do the children and adolescents of this world a terrible disservice. It's okay, Jo. I mean, I have one here, but you can just watch the replay. We think about that we teach our children, and like you said, we don't teach kids about taking care of the environment. I mean, we have sort of a half-assed sort of like environmental science class or something that's or it's like a month of like curriculum to where you just have to know little factual, trivial information, stuff that doesn't truly seep in, things that are just
there.
You know what I mean? And it doesn't stick,
The thing is, the major corporations that are, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but I'll forget this thought if I don't say it. The education, that's kind of derived based on the system, like, we don't want kids to question too much, because they might find out some truths that the adults don't even know, because they're learning and stuff, so we're going to give them facts to ingrain in their mind, so they don't really want to further explore this, or we're going to make it very boring for them. We're not going to bring them out and show them what's really going on in the dairy industry and the environmental sector of things. We're not going to show them all this stuff because, well, we have a system and it works.
Yeah, we're gonna bring them out to produce, so that they can pay their taxes and give them their money. And then when it comes to true enlightenment and wisdom and knowledge of the world, we're going to bring them back into the cave. We're going to sit them down and we're going to cast them these shadows the entirety of their life and say, hey, this is knowledge. This is thinking. This is thought. And then it's going to be so fucking long that they see it and they don't look back anymore, and they stop seeing the puppeteers and they stop seeing, and all they see are shadows.
All they see are shadows.
Yeah, and then we're going to set them free. And we're going to say, hey, you know what? Maybe what we told you for almost the entirety of life as you know it isn't all the truth. There's stuff out there, but go ahead and.
But hey, we're gonna cover it. We're gonna cover it with satirical comedy and things like Family Guy, so you can figure it out yourself.
Yeah, and then
hilarious.
And then people sometimes catch glimpses of the true sun, or their true reflection, and it terrifies them. It frightens them to death.
You're like, what?
It blinds them. It hurts.
I've never seen that. I was not taught this in school.
Yeah.
We weren't taught how to deal with emotions, align our energy, align our thinking with our soul. We weren't taught any of that. We were fed the ego, so we would grow the ego, so we would continue in this robotic sector, like following, and never leading something new.
And it's funny because it makes me think about pain. Pain isn't really needed to be learned. It's something that we are just born with, in a sense. So then it's that pain response, right? It's pain in the true enlightenment and the true reflection of the self. You see it, and it hurts. So, of course, you don't want to keep going back to it because that's crazy, right? That's why the people who have been hurt the most are usually the most enlightened people. Because they know the pain. They know what pain symbolizes sometimes. But go ahead.
And the difference, yeah, absolutely, though. And the difference between those that have known that pain and that have let it go, because pain doesn't have to exist forever. It's an emotion. It's fleeting emotion, energetic motion. It's an emotion in motion. Literally, it's supposed to be moving. It's not supposed to be latent in your body, but a lot of times that's what happens. And when it's that way, you tend to keep touching it. You keep going back and out, like, oh, that pain. Gosh, why did that person do this? And you keep touching it and you keep doing it, and it's like, why won't it go away? Because you're not feeling it. You're just judging yourself for having that emotion. You're not feeling it. You're not letting yourself let it go. And it's just so important.
I think over time we do sort of the numbing and the desensitization of ourselves to not feel the pain. But then what that does is we don't feel the utter joy or the bliss or the beautiful things in life. And then life becomes a pain because it becomes bland and it becomes soulless and it becomes spectrumless and it is the worst kind of gray because there's no.
That's why.
Yeah.
Yes, and that's why the government pushes things like alcohol, which suppresses your feelings, and coffee, which replaces natural ATP in the body. So you don't know. You're always numb. In the morning, wake up, have a cup of coffee. Here's some fake energy to fill you up. And at night, have a couple drinks to forget about the day. Here's this to numb you. All right, let's do it again tomorrow. This cyclic pattern is so much fun. I love this. And that's why marijuana was a Schedule 1 drug for goodness, how long? In 5th grade, don't do drugs. I was so afraid of that shit. And then that is what actually got me into my spirituality, what pulled me out of the masses. So they don't want you to know about that. And now we're legalizing it slowly because of health things. But the thing is, it's very helpful for the mind too, to break you out of these changes. It develops new synapses, new neuron patterns, new thought patterns. It opens your mind up, just like all natural drugs, like from plants.
I think they're legalizing it because it's socially accepted now, and they realize that they can make lots of money off of it, so they can drop the delusion of its adverse effects, which they used to criminalize many types of people that they didn't want thinking freely. From my perspective.
Yes. Well, yeah, that's kind of what I said in a sense. And that they don't want you to have access to this thing that can open your mind.
Yeah, and I was kind of elaborating on that sense too. But I'm gonna restart this. Okay, you got 20 seconds.
Oh yeah, yep. Sounds good.
Cool. Be right back. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Oh yeah. What up, brother? Hi, Archer. Hi, Joey. Hello, Soul Sacrificial. It's a cool name. what's up? We have a couple more poems to read, and we've just been talking, just having philosophical discussion, and discourse, yeah, different perspectives on things. Well, I've been making a lot of references to the allegory of the cave, Plato, and the theory of forms, and the idea of empirical knowledge versus theoretical knowledge, in a sense, sort of the two prongs of understanding. How we can easily construe fact or certainty or a totality of knowingness with things that are actually impossible to do so with. Stuff like that. Hi, Cindy. I believe it's Hannah. Natty Boy Black, what's up, man? I guess Kayla didn't get the memo. Which camp of understanding do you subscribe to? I guess you can call me a very non-committal type of man in the sense that I don't really truly like to subscribe to anything. Yet I like to understand what the subscription to it would signify, and then take many different pieces of all of it and sort of organize that into my own sort of truth. And a lot of that truth has to do with the discussions of others' truth, and their way of seeing and their perceptions, and then gathering that sort of stuff. So I don't know where Kayla is. There's nothing to be sorry about. What's up, John? Nothing to be sorry about at all. Yeah. And I mean, obviously there's things that I'm committed to. Just general understanding. I mean, I'm definitely committed to that effort. You know what I mean? Like, I like broader sort of terminologies. Like, I don't like the idea of, saying, well, I'm this type of person. I mean, I don't want to say I don't like the idea of it, just for myself. For myself, I don't like the idea of saying, well, this is Phil, and this is what Phil is. I think if you really got to know me and talk to me, you could make your assertions about that. And I would either agree with you or try to dissuade you from it. I mean, because I believe also in the effort of knowingness, of just talking and doing it with sort of a blank sort of slate in the sense, and understanding that despite our propensity to categorize and to label and to identify and to rationalize and to reach a destination that is not a destination but a continual path. I think that's what we should all strive for. So I'm going to read, her name is Jo, and it's at She Touches Light. I read her first poem on the last live, but I didn't get her chance to read this one. And this one's very good. And she says it's inspired by at John Paul Poetry, his poem "The Garden." And she says he's a great writer, and it's a treat to see his work. And Jo's back. She said she wouldn't be. Yeah. So I'm going to read your second poem, Jo. Heart-shaped petals. My heart was not cut out, simply pummeled into a bloody mess, left battered and quivering in darkness. You see, his hands weren't that gentle. I could never allow my only lifeline to be so savagely destroyed, so I planted a secret garden in its place with a passage known only to me. As the flowers grew within the composted remains of my heart, I realized what once was dead is now reborn within soft petals. So here I am, tending my garden, lovingly caressing each petal as it forms. someday trusting another's hand. And beautiful poem, Joe. And I remember me and you had a discussion, or you and I had a discussion about a different poem, and we had talked about gardeners, and I think I had talked about sort of a gardener's touch in the hands, and how, what up?
Hey, I don't know what happened. It wouldn't let me join. It's weird.
Yeah. Oh, that's weird. I don't know.
Yeah.
I just read Joe's second poem. Did you want me to read it again so you can hear it?
Yes, please.
Yeah, sure. My heart was not cut out, simply pummeled into a bloody mess, left battered and quivering in darkness. You see, his hands weren't that gentle. I could never allow my lifeline to be so savagely destroyed, so I planted a secret garden in its place, with a passage known only to me. As the flowers grew within the composted remains of my heart, I realized what once was dead is now reborn within soft petals. So here I am, tending my garden, lovingly caressing each petal as it forms, in hope of someday trusting another's hand.
I love that.
Yeah. And I was saying, because me and her had talked about a different poem that she had, and I talked about sort of gardener's hands and that metaphor, and how to dealing with a multitude of different things. I mean, tending to plants is a very intimate thing, and it's a very passionate thing.
Yeah.
But there's such calmness in it.
Yeah.
And such tenderness. I think we can have that same sort of, I think we need sort of almost this
Same thing with ourselves when working with ourselves. The same calmness and love.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say that I think we associate intimacy with sort of this overt passion. You know what I mean? This overt expressiveness.
Yeah.
And then you look at somebody tending to a garden, and it's mostly silence. You know, and they talk to them, but even when they talk to the plants, they talk to them gently, in whispers or in
It's
yeah.
very close to silence, to taking in what you can't hear, to connecting with something on an energetic level. You're connecting to these plants. They're living, they're growing, you're helping them grow. And it's the same, it's a perfect analogy for what you should do in your own heart.
Yeah, and I also, it teaches you to appreciate those things that aren't sensed in a way. And you know what I mean? Those sort of theoretical sense, or you talk about the sixth eye or something like that, in the sense that I'm seeing intimacy without it having to be expressed in the ways that I've always known it in having to be. It's an enlightened thing.
Yes. It's opening yourself up to a type of blissful connection that you can't express, like you said, that you can't touch.
I mean, it's the same kind of thing with animals. It's just that with animals, they are able to express things that are known, you know, but not as in much of a way as we do with humans, you know.
I think so someone just made a comment. I wrote a poem about C sounds SC. I wrote a poem about whether my plants talk to each other, sigh, and I really feel like they do communicate with each other energetically. They don't have nervous systems. They can't feel pain like animals, but they're all energy, and there's like a scientific study where if you're talking poorly to a plant, it grows poorly, it dies, it literally falls. And when you talk it positively with loving feelings, with nurturing, it grows positively. It's the same thing with like the water study. I don't know if you've heard of that, like where they freeze ice and say negative things to it, and it doesn't have perfect crystals, but when you say positive things like living peace, they're frozen in perfect crystals. It's so cool. It's all vibration and energy. It just goes back to the very atomic, minuscule, and unseen levels of it. So It's a very beautiful thing. I really love that.
Yeah.
Awesome piece.
Yeah. Did you still have more to read too?
I do, yes. So the next one, I don't know if he's in here. Sky Racer 42. It's Fernando. So this one's called This I Promise You.
Cool. You said Sky Racer 42, right?
Yes. Oh, I keep forgetting to put them in.
No, it's no problem.
Thank you. To be or not to be? Is this faith or destiny? I just want to set you free, give you peace eventually. Be with you eternally. No more pain, no more tears. We will live in harmony, getting rid of all of our fears. Promise to heal your wounds, give you love that is so pure. Bring your stars, bring you moons. Be your shelter, be your cure. Love that.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's very gracefully said.
Yeah. And I just like when you can almost feel the sincerity and genuineness in the words, you know? That sort of attentiveness to that expression of it. I think sometimes we write sort of things and we're not necessarily in the perfect place for it. And then it doesn't quite convey it the way that we wanted. And then sometimes people write stuff and it just perfectly sort of conveys both the tone, you know, and sort of that complete genuineness of it. Because I don't want to say that people don't do it falsely. I just think that you're not completely in tune, word and tone, in a sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's so much divinity. I feel like it's the ultimate, the purest form of love, and wanting to help someone and wanting to take their pain away, and leaving it all behind, floating up into the abyss. Okay, yeah. So, Missy, send me one of yours and I'll read it on the next slide.
Yeah, cool.
But I really do. I love this piece. I'll read one more of his.
Yeah, cool.
This one is short, but very deep. Called, I don't know if it has a title. Others we console while we forget what caused us to break. I think it's just the most honest way to say that you put others before yourself, and out of empathy. But sometimes when you don't have anything in your cup, when you're depleted and you keep giving, you can be left really at a lower point. It won't be as filling than when it would be when you yourself are taking care of yourself and then helping others, because you have to put yourself first.
Yeah, I think it's especially when it's very excessive, you know, because I think if we have a few people in our lives, like if we have really good people in our lives that we give to, they see those things and they believe in reciprocity, and it's not necessarily like they do it in similar ways. It could be different ways, or it could be similar ways, but we all want to give, and that's sort of the path to enlightenment for sure. And then the knowingness is knowing how to do that for each other through time, you know?
I think the knowingness is also the truth there to be discovered is putting yourself first is just incredibly important.
Yeah.
I was just asked to read this one more time, so I'll just read it again.
Yeah, go ahead.
Others we console while we forget what caused us to break.
Yeah. And you know, it's also too, if your selflessness is at the point of where you it's diminishing your ability to help, then you get into the point of where you are helping people and then you can't even help them anymore. and you have nothing left for yourself. And I think sometimes, most of the time, people that are naturally inclined to be a lot more selfless than they are selfish, that's how they end up learning. I think it's kind of a rock bottom in a sense of selflessness.
We're taught at a young age to be selfless, but you should always be selfish. We talked about this last week, and
Right.
There's a difference between being selfish, like gimme. No, it's being selfish in a way, putting your own energy first, and yeah, it's just so incredibly important.
And I think it's even almost through a connection of similar selfishness. You know what I mean? In the sense that if we both desire the same types of things in a connection, we are both striving for that path. And then obviously we would both make the effort to help each other on that path if we are on the same path. You know what I mean? If somebody is on a different path than you, and it's so different that it's a shifting of that energy. It's a pushing, instead of a blend in a way. You're not doing anybody any help. Even if a lot of times that person is actually receiving things, but the things that they are receiving isn't anything really, because they're not even
open to yeah, right. No, exactly. That's why it's just so important to really sit with yourself first and know your own truths first before you go giving and not knowing where the lines are, not knowing where your boundaries are, or even giving to someone that doesn't really even take what you say in any way or really listen or want your advice. Some people are just, they think that they are ready to hear what maybe other people have to say, but they themselves haven't really understood the situation. So when they tell others, they're not really wanting a response. They're really just trying to get it all figured out themselves. They're trying to hear themselves say it out loud. So like, what am I doing here? Like you touched on this earlier, yeah, exactly. It all comes back. Everything's connected.
Yeah.
You can.
I can go? Okay,
Yeah.
Let me put up your thing. The next one is... I got 2 poems from Julie. Lovely logo file. She's a very spiritual woman, a very sweet woman. This first one's called Tidal Wave. God, I know you will deliver me. You are my boat when the waters rise. You will not let this flood overwhelm me. You said, behold, the former things have come to pass. The new things I now declare. This time of reckoning, this mighty storm is the meeting of the things behind and the things ahead. But as these waters rage and these east winds blow, and you will not allow my hand to go unheld, for you have called me by name and I am yours. I am precious in your eyes. I am your witness. I am your forgiven. And you are he, rock, redeemer, and fortress. And, I like this especially because I know people that believe in Christianity or Catholicism or whatever, and we always have very enlightening conversations because they are very accepting people of our the small little differences in us, in the sense that I don't necessarily believe in a lot of the elements of Christianity, nor am I a Christian, but the moralities and the understandings that they receive from it are similar to mine,
Yes.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've never been a big fan of religion. I've always thought that it's kind of where you go to learn another social construct. And I feel myself, I'm much more spiritual and not at all religious. I have my own relationship with divine, with God, but some people, a church can also be seen in a good way. It's a community of so there's just so many things about that. But I think just having that connection and knowing your own elements of truth, that's the development of self. That's where you can find that spirituality, that connection.
Yeah, and I mean, like I touched on earlier, you know, somebody asked me sort of what my philosophies are, sort of the you know, the exacting definition of it, you know, and I think of it in the same sense as I can't tell people that my path is their path. I just can't do that, because within me that would be a hypocritical. So like I can never tell somebody that their path is wrong or is even misguided, because who am I to guide? You know what I mean? To me, it's just sort of discussing our paths, understanding them, helping to understand the differences in it, explaining how you differ from it, and then focusing on the similarities and how you and the person that you are can assist on their path. And I think that's the true essence of like a connection.
Oh yeah, that's alchemy. It's rather than taking away from one another, you're watering, you're complementing. Again, with the garden metaphor, you're nurturing. Yeah, you're nurturing.
Yeah. I'll read her second poem real quick. This one's called Legion, and I like this one because it's got a darker feel to it.
Okay.
I feel one staring at me from the crack in the door, boring its way through my back, trying to make its way into my mind, into my heart. I will not turn to face it. That's what they want. Just one glance. The others who are waiting behind are salivating at the possibility that I will. Their barely contained excitement palpable to my sensitive spirit, I resolve. Don't look them in the eye. And as long as I don't, the legion will stay put, will remain at bay, because God help me if they get out. God help us all if I set them free.
That is really good. I'll let you go. I think that's all about demons, battling demons. And, you know, if you show the world them, they're all going to run away. I mean, this connects to everything that we've talked about thus far. Like, showing those darkest parts of yourself, the world's not ready for that, because maybe you haven't accepted them yourself. And so it could just be catastrophic when they're released to others.
Yeah, you know? and like I said, it's like, you know, imagine if we were thinking of walls, and not even necessarily walls in a negative connotation, but walls in the sense of defense. Defense from things that we know exist within the world, or things that are there to attack, or bring down the energy, or do whatever we dictate is something that deters us. Some people, it's like rickety fences, and they just and they're just, it's just a constant breaking of allowing people to dictate their path. Some people, it's like a fucking fortress, a wall, but it can be breached, right? And when it is breached, it's a complete siege, because you thought you were so safe and so protected, and you were so comfortable and secure in it, and then it's just dismantled. So I think that's sometimes a really hard thing, and I think that's my take on it, in a sense that she is so sincerely into her beliefs and her foundations, and the walling of the things she knows deters her, that if it ever were to deter her, it would be a terrible thing.
Yeah. I mean, I think the scariest things, the scariest parts of ourselves, when you get a glimpse of them, and you can look at them with an open mind and a non-judgmental mind towards self, you can start to integrate what that demon is trying to teach you, and you can let him go and fill yourself up with positive energy, you can transmutate that. You don't have to constantly, she mentioned, the biggest fights are usually with yourself. Absolutely they are. At night when you go to sleep, are you telling yourself positive things, or are you thinking about other people? Or are you sitting with yourself? Are you looking at yourself and who was I today? What kind of person was I today? And really, really genuine self-reflection, I really think it takes to overcome those demons. And I haven't, everyone has them. It's a process, it's a lifelong thing, it's a journey.
Well, a wise man once told me the only worthy opponent you have in life is yourself.
Yes.
If you make anybody else a more worthy opponent than yourself, then you're doing yourself a serious dissatisfaction and a poor evaluation of yourself. Because a lot of times we transfer the battle of ourself as others are doing it to us, in a sense. Like if you talk about jealousy, right? Or any other sinful type of thing, a lot of times we don't truly realize that it's all in here. It's all there.
It's all
out there does anything, really. You know what I mean? Their words, their sounds, their senses. A lot of that take is here. And I'm not saying there's not negative energy and you don't have to defend, but that's part of it. But another part of it is realizing that it's in here that you hurt yourself the most. It's not out there.
Yes. I think that the defenses are a ploy, right? Because we don't want to move forward. We're comfortable in our safety net, in our defense, but then people can also break down those walls. When you're in stasis, people can always break them down because you're not moving forward, and you're so afraid of everyone moving around you that you're too afraid to hop out of your defense and go and leave it all behind and keep going forward because you are on your own path. But it can be a scary thing, but it can also be the most liberating thing in the world when you don't have to react to someone because they're doing this, when you don't have to take those ingrained beliefs, when you can just say fuck you to those beliefs and start developing your own sense of persona, your own sense of self based on your truths and not some shit you were taught throughout your life. And
and it's like you say, a lot of the talk about the ego and the false sense of ego and pride. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? And I think that's what constrains when you talk about sort of jealousy and envy and hate and anger and resentment, and bitterness, and it's all held with sort of this perception that you had of not only yourself and your identity and your name or your life or whatever, and you don't even realize that you are the true definer of it. Mm-hmm. You know, like you ultimately are. And even when people are telling you good things, a lot of times you don't even realize that those things aren't even necessarily real. And you know what I mean? And then you get fascinated on even the sort of positive sort of aspect on it. And then it becomes very confusing. So if you don't have self-identity, I mean, you're a shadow.
You're allowing your ego to overtake, so you're taking the positive and the negative feedback, and that comes back to listening to what other people are thinking. At the same time, you cannot be concerned with what other people are thinking. You have to take everything with a grain of salt, and I have a knack for deflecting any compliments or any negative things that are said to me. That's something that I know that I'm very good at, because I've developed that throughout my life, and I know that. So I used to be very defensive, but I broke the walls down. And now when someone's coming at me, I'm listening to them. I'm listening to what they're saying, but I'm not taking their energy, and I'm not letting it affect my own energy. It's not that. And I've realized also that I've had similar situations in my life, the same sort of experience come back around in a totally different way. And so if, like jealousy you mentioned. So if you're really jealous, you'll find maybe you'll attract a person or a significant other that makes you very jealous because you have this ingrained belief of jealousy because you don't feel you're good enough. But then, in your next relationship, you find the same thing and you're like, why am I attracting these people? And maybe in a friendship, you attract the same situation and you don't understand it. But the thing is, the universe, that's the universe reflecting yourself to you. It's showing you these people that can break you out of your defense, break you out of your ingrained beliefs. And free you of those negative emotions that you so desperately cling to because you think they're part of self, but they're not.
Yeah.
They're fleeting.
And I also think that kind of goes back to that that sort of rock bottom kind of theory in a sense too. Like you said, sometimes you almost subconsciously force yourself into situations that are so
For a sec.
in my back now, though. Yeah, I got it. That's why I do these on my iPad and to avoid people calling me and interrupting it. But then somehow it still interrupts it, even when people call me on my phone. But anyways, I was pretty much just saying, if you know, if you don't have a true sense of identity, I mean, this world's gonna eat you up.
Yes. Yes. Was that my turn?
Yeah, I mean, if you have another one, go. I have just one more left, I believe, after this. So.
Oh, it works well because I have two, so I'll go. And then we can also read the poem that we wrote.
Okay. Cool. Yeah, I'm down.
So, this one is from a drift writer. I haven't seen them join the chat.
It was a drift writer.
Yes, I can add it.
I can write it. Or are you? I'm got it.
You got it? Okay.
Is that right?
A drift writer. Oh, it's a drift period writer. My bad.
Okay, no, I'll retype it. But go ahead.
Okay, so it's called Looking at the Sky. I look up to the sky, to the clouds, to the direction where you reside, and stare for a while. The thought of you arises, thinking about seeing you, being with you, and life with you, all in my imagination, slowly disappearing, as I get pulled back to reality, looking at the sky. I love that.
Read it one more time for me.
I look up at the sky, to the clouds, to the direction where you reside, and stare for a while. The thought of you arises, thinking about seeing you, being with you, and life with you, all in my imagination, slowly disappearing, as I get pulled back to reality, looking at the sky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Got a yearning for someone, and it's just unreachable in whatever sense. It feels
I think it's Leslie by Joey. Hi, Leslie. Barefoot Gypsy. Sorry, go ahead.
It feels it feels longing.
Yeah. Oh, I mean, what I was gonna say is like Cindy just said right now. So many ways to interpret that.
Yeah.
And that's why it's a powerful piece, and that's why, like, you know, a lot of perspectives that we have on things are never concrete, and that's why when we write, sometimes we write things like this. I mean, to us as the writer, we know exactly what it's about. But a lot of times we can write something in a way where it could be somebody that they lost, and they're looking to the heavens. You know,
no, that was my first thought, and then I figured more longing.
Yeah, or it could be that, very assuredly. You know, it could be many things. It might not even be a person. It might even be their self or part of theirs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's so many ways to interpret it.
Thank you for sharing.
Really beautiful.
Do you have another one from them?
I do.
Cool.
This one's called Two Souls. Two long lost souls, finally reaching their destination. After all the stumbles and struggles, they kept believing until they met, experiencing an epiphany at their first touch, embracing each other. They felt truly connected. Together they joined in one, with their hearts beating in unison, their energies cinched, and they became one.
Beautiful. I like to touch on energies, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You're talking about the twin flames.
Yeah, I feel that's what it reminds me
Yeah.
of.
Um,
Yeah, experiencing an epiphany at their first touch. I really love that. Because sometimes some people you just meet, I don't know if that's ever happened to you, you feel like you know them your whole life. And you feel like you're talking to someone that maybe you had brunch with them in your past life or something, you know? Maybe something like that happened, and you feel you've known them forever, but at the same time, you know nothing. And it's
yeah.
really wonderful.
Um, I think it's even more of a transcendent thought in the sense that it doesn't even matter. You know what I mean? Especially for, I think, a lot of people that obviously would join this chat or sit here long enough, they would know that we're thinking people, and there's thoughts all the time. And I think, at least for me personally, when I meet somebody, there's lots of talking and thought going on, but it's almost like there's absolutely no effort in it. Like there's no strain whatsoever, and there's not even a thought of time. And I think about the tattoo that I have on my arm, which alludes to losing time, to losing that sort of that subconscious grasp that we always have on it. Just like I said, when people tell you, well, you know what, I don't have the time. You know, I think about just not even thinking about time, to losing that space. You know, in the sense that when I talk to some people, sometimes I don't. It could be hours, and I really had no fucking idea. No, not one clue.
Those people I feel, are on your wavelength, your energetic wavelength. Maybe they're at the same sort of depth as you can go, or something like that. Something along those lines. You have these certain connections, because we're all energy, and these, all these, I see energy as like these swirls mixing everywhere that you just can't see. Well, maybe, that like lit up and we connected in this way or that way. And those kinds of things, they pull you and they fill you. They fill you with all of these. Yeah, that happens. Yeah. Yeah. See, me and Missy, we get together and we'll talk and talk and talk and talk forever, and there's never a thought, and we're just laughing. We are getting into deep conversations, and it is going back and forth. We're both Libras, sun signs, mind you. But it's one of those things that you can't put it into words. But you're right. You're not thinking during these moments. You're feeling more. I feel you're more expressing from your higher self, because you are in a state of happiness, true happiness. Whether you're going to, whereas when you go to an interview, you're going to have all these structures, these lines drawn, because you have to not say this, you have to do this, and so there's not going to be free-flowing communication unless you feel comfortable enough with that person. Yeah. And so there's all these types of, but I feel that is true blissful happiness that you can experience in a relationship with others when there's no thought. And it's different when you're thinking like wisdom and like deep stuff, of course, but
yeah. But I mean, there's also wisdom in the simple things. You know what I mean? And those are things that I have some difficulty with, in a sense. But like anybody that gets my sense of humor, like my sense of humor is actually very crude. You know what I mean? And it's very simple in a sense, yet clever in a way. But it's a break from sort of my natural way of being, which is very sort of complex and very everything's got to be elongated and everything's got to be this way. So it's very and if I was so in that way all the time, I would miss out on so many other things. So a lot of times those moments where we lose time are very simple moments. You know what I mean? You just go.
You're in your right brain.
Yeah, you just go out to the lake one day with friends, and you just have the time of your life, and you just and it's just a simple thing, and it's not anything that's some philosophical discussion or some transient sort of ascendancy or whatever. Yeah. It's just life. I was gonna go somewhere else with that, but I forgot.
I could go so many different ways with all of this.
And that's the thing, and very lovely.
Oh, I was gonna say, it's right brain versus left brain. You were talking about your natural state is very complex. I can resonate with that. I feel very, very deeply on every level, in thought and everything. I'm always thinking very deep about everything, and I think I once told you, I am always at the bottom of every conversation. I'm always at the depth of every conversation. Though a lot of people that I'm talking to are up here, I'm always at the bottom. I'm waiting for the other people that are at the depth. So I want to connect. I want to meet those people down there that are also swimming in the freaking unknown.
Yeah.
Because for me, that's...
You actually kind of led into my point too, in the sense that it's sad that sometimes you meet somebody and it's just not the right time, or it's not the right space, and these people could be the types of people that we discuss. It makes me think of fate or destiny or things like that, and whether it exists or not. You know what I mean? Because like you said, you meet somebody. Does it have to be the first time, Kayla? You know what I mean? Is it just a natural, like, bam, love at first sight, or just a connection or a friendship, or that thing that ascends over just a general connection of just two people, something that makes it the more.
Yeah. And there's so many different types. But I think those people that you do have an immediate connection with, there's something there, like in a past whatever you believe in. And spiritually, you're connected in some way, I feel. And that's an automatic thing. And I think that's really beautiful, because you don't know the answers to that. And, you know, your left brain really wants to know, well, where the hell do I know you from? This deja vu is taking over me right now. Or something along those lines, if it's pertaining to deja vu, or you feel like you've seen them.
Yeah, and I just think that as people, we really got to sit there and think, like, that is why we have to really think about how we're giving off things of our true self and our true feelings and the way that we feel about all things, and how we are receiving that. Because if you are not giving off those right things, or not giving off that right attempt at it, then
you're not going to receive it. You're
missing out on those real chances. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You're not taking the true risks in life that you should take, and that's on people. And that's on enlightenment, and that's on seeking these types of moments. You know what I mean?
Seeking the unknown. The things that are scary. And, yeah, go on.
We feel very safe in ourselves and very safe in our environment, or however you want to signify it. And anytime we go out of it, it's very scary. But then sometimes I wonder, if you had just gone out of it, maybe you'd have so many more of these moments that you crave so desperately.
See, that's, the way you put that, like, I just wonder if maybe you just went out of it. That's, almost a pessimistic viewpoint, because you could still get out of it. So, I feel like...
Well, I mean, I think that just depends on what point you are, you know?
Completely.
In it. Yeah.
I think... Yeah, I mean, there's so much we could talk about on that.
Yeah, I'll read my last, because that was your last bit. I'll just read Julie real quick. I'll put up her thing. You can.
Yeah, I just have one more.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
I have one more poet after you read this one.
One more person. Okay, then I'll just read Julie, and then I'll be done. Let me put in her handle. It's another Julie. Actually, I didn't realize this is the second Julie. Huh. Weird. Not weird. I mean, it's a common name. It's a nice name.
The last one I have is kind of long.
Okay, cool. I only have one from Julie, because she, this might even be the first time that anybody's ever, like, actually read her poem. You know what I mean? Like, on a live or outwardly, in a sense.
Is she in here?
No, I think she's busy today. She said she'd catch the replay.
Okay.
So, like I said, I didn't exactly plan on reading people, but then I figured I had so many to read that if I just read some people, it would help me, and then also people could listen. I mean, people were here for poetry, you know, and thought.
I enjoy it. I really enjoy reading other people's work and talking about it.
Yeah, and if you guys don't follow at solaceseeker.1, Julie, she's incredible, and she's very different from me in the sense, like, I'm a spiritual person, but she's very
I would describe you
ethereal.
as metaphysical.
What's that?
I would describe you as more metaphysical, in my opinion.
Yeah, you were saying that, so, and you might be right. And she's very ethereal in her spirituality, and you'll read this poem and you kind of see it. With our two souls entwined in a warm winter embrace, speak to me in a language that doesn't use words, a silver silence. An ancient language of dreams and symbols threaded into our memories, stitched upon our hearts, patterns of desire traced on our skin, like water over pebbles, rain falling on soft fields, a breeze that grazes your cheek, an incantation that lights love on fire, hearts ablaze, within a warm winter embrace, a silver silence.
Wow. Can you read that one more time?
Of course.
Please.
With our two souls entwined in a warm winter embrace, speak to me in a language that doesn't use words, a silver silence, an ancient language of dreams and symbols threaded into our memories, stitched upon our hearts, patterns of desire traced on our skin, like water over pebbles, rain falling on soft fields, a breeze that grazes your cheek, an incantation that lights love on fire, hearts ablaze, within a warm winter embrace, a silver silence.
I love that.
I love it too. It's beautiful. You know, it's beautiful in
I
some.
see what you mean by ethereal. Yeah. It's very divine.
Yeah, and she makes the connection, the threaded into our memories, stitched upon our hearts, patterns of desire traced on our skin. You know how she connects everything together, and it's like she's sewing it together or seaming it together. And then when she talks about the seams or the patterns, like water over pebbles, rain falling on soft field, it's such an expression of gentleness and tenderness and a natural connotation to it. And so, like I said, I never write a poem like this. I just can't.
It's very delicately described. It's very
Right.
it just this like gentleness to it. I really like her writing.
Yeah. And
I don't know if I follow her.
Yeah, you might not. Like I said, she's a very, she's a wonderful person, and a wonderful writer, and it's very genuine, and it's very, like I said, it's very delicate, and it's very tender, and it's, you know, like when I read her stuff, it softens me a little bit, which isn't easy for me. I can read just the most touching kind of things, and it's really hard for me, but then when I read her poems, it really touches me.
Yeah.
Cool.
You want to read another one first?
Yeah. Yeah, and so even me reading poems like that is hard, because I just have a sort of natural way, so I tried to give it justice, so you can go ahead, Kayla.
Okay, so what happened was this person had sent me their poem and as a draft, so it wasn't in like a picture, so I had to send it to my email, and I accidentally did not write down their handle, so I'm just looking for it right now.
Oh, no worries. So we got like 12 minutes, so we're cool. Yeah, I'm working on reading things calmer and slower.
Yeah, I've noticed. I like it. Did I inspire you?
Yeah, of course it was you. Of course.
Just kidding. Okay, Poetry like you.
At poetry like you? With any
Yes.
underscores or anything? Or?
Nope.
Okay,
Just,
cool.
yeah.
Alright, you're
So,
good.
okay. This has a name to it. Everything cries to me now. Forget me for a day. The red branch leaves that cover your eyes, the snowfall melt on your cheeks, the frozen lake inside those lips, and the echoes of my name in the air is what remains now, telling me, forget me for a day. Aromas are everywhere, flowers from our backyard. They even ushered all the butterflies you love, but you lie down on ease like elegance is still on your sleeve. But will you do the magic of getting up once more? And we all accept that we've mistaken, not hearing your snore. But no, I'm asking too much, as everything crying to me now, forget me for a day. Oh, pumpkin, wooden box that others see, is made out of your bed, and funny, how you still fit in the wedding dress. I don't know if to cry or laugh, the memories of us telling me, forget me for a day. I tremble my lips, my mother tries to hold my hand, and I whisper, it's time. I say not before, I say, beautiful you are looking, for the last time, on my eyes to stay. And I want you to climb down smiling, but something from the coffin says, my man, not today, not today. I love that.
Wow.
There's so much to it.
Yeah.
I really think I don't even know where to start.
You know what I think? I think you should read it again.
I agree. Everything cries to me now, forget me for a day. The red branch leaves that cover your eyes, the snowfall melt on your cheeks, the frozen lake inside those lips, and the echoes of my name in the air is what remains now, telling me, forget me for a day. Aromas are everywhere, flowers from our backyard. They even ushered all the butterflies you love, but you lie down on ease, like elegance is still on your sleeve. But will you do magic of getting up once more? And we all accept that we've mistaken not hearing your snore. But I know I'm asking too much, is everything crying to me now? Forget me for a day. Oh, pumpkin, wooden box that others see is made out of our bed, and funny how you still fit in the wedding dress. I don't know if to cry or to laugh, the memories of us telling me, forget me for a day. I tremble my lips, my mother tries to hold my hand, and I whisper, it's time. I say not before I say how beautiful you are looking, and my eyes stay. And I want you to climb down smiling, but something from the coffin says, my man, not today, not today.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
So death, it's about death.
Yeah, it's about
Really deep.
holding on to somebody, you know. It's funny too. Well, it's not. Well, I mean, it's funny in a way that it's a great revelation in the sense that we have to hold on to some people for a long time, you know, and the way that we hold on to them is very difficult because sometimes we feel like we have to let people go in a sense, but we have to hold on to them in a sense, and those lines are very blurred. So we end up holding on to everything because we don't want to fuck it up in a sense. You know what I mean? You don't want to dishonor them because there's such a powerful presence in what you are and what they've made you become in a way or helped you to become. And then we just don't know how to let go enough to where we can move on in the way that we need to, yet still hold on in the way we need to. It's like a poem I wrote about my grandfather when he told me, you know, you have to learn how to grip on to certain parts of life and you need to learn how to gently hold them. And then there's times in your life And he taught me that in his death, where you just have to let go in a way, where it's not because I'm the type of person that wants to hold everything, and I never understood that sometimes you just have to let go of some things,
I think
go ahead.
I think the best way to go through life is to be attached to nothing, but open to everything. Let everything go. Even the people, it doesn't mean you're forgetting them, but don't attach yourself to people, because they are there. They are with you in spirit. They are your energy. So that's my way of thinking. And that's what but when my grandma passed away, I took it as it was a very like spiritually enlightening time for me, because I faced this thing that I hadn't faced before, and I didn't know what to feel, so I didn't feel anything. I decided to suppress everything. And when I started to feel things, I felt guilt and all this other stuff. And, it's because I was holding on to these certain things that I didn't understand how to let it go, but also accept myself for how I'm dealing with this. And I was judging myself for all this. So it's like, it's this, like a revolving door, if you decide to hold on. But when you can gently let go, you still have those memories, you still have the good. It's just you're letting go of the idea that it's yours to keep.
I think what helped me personally was that to me in my mind, I haven't let them go, but I have. I don't really know how to explain it, but in a sense that they're always here with me within what I am. So in a sense, I'm not letting them go. I'm letting go of all the negative aspects that we have to do to feel that loss, that pain. You know what I mean? Because I think when we lose somebody, we feel that guilt, or we feel that blame, or we think about it. But you just realize that time, you are not the dictator of time or the string of life in anything. And I think it makes us think about our own mortality and our own time and our own string. And it makes us think, well, God, if we had just said this, or if we just taken this moment and appreciated it more, or whatever. And I think it's those things.
Yeah. And that's like what I was saying, like attaching yourself to these things, to these people, but at the same time, that's their spirit is with you, and that's what I'm assuming you mean by that. They are always there with you. It's just you're letting go to the idea that you have to go back to that one good memory you had with them, and you miss that so much. You're yearning for that. You feel all these things, and you want that back, but at the same time, moments are fleeting, and the best you can do is just be grateful for the good things, and let the bad go. Learn from the bad. It's not just automatic. Bad things happen. Okay, let it go. Don't feel it. It's feel it, process it, integrate. Let that go, and just sit in the love. Sit in the love of it all.
Yeah. I think it's just the realization that body is only so much. You know what I mean? And I think especially if you spend a good deal of time with people, that sort of their imprint is on there, and once their body goes, they're not like, once you've achieved a certain knowingness of somebody, I think, and you've felt their soul, and their heartbeat in unison, and all those different things that we talk about, of the true connection and the true blending of the energy. They're part of you. You know what I mean? So even when their body leaves and they're not speaking to you, are you still not speaking to them? Because you know of their words, and you know of their presence, and you know of their energy. They're those types of people that in your mind, and when you get deterred from your path, they're the echoes. They're the things that you see in different things. Stupid lives. Cutting out. Hi, Cindy. I had a minute left and it just stopped. I don't know. Weird. watching the time, and I swear I think it had like a minute and 20 seconds left, and then it just said live ended. And I was like, damn, because like usually I wait till like 30 seconds left, and I'll at least say something. I mean, we don't have a lot really left. I mean, we read all the poems and stuff like that, but I think Kayla wants to read a poem of ours, and maybe she wants to read something of hers or whatever. So I just waved at you. I think those things are so funny. It's like, hey, I guess it's cool. Yeah, I suppose. I mean, I really wanted Kayla to be able to start it, but she can't start it.
Hello.
Hey, I mean, yeah, like I said, there was like a minute left, and it just said live ended. It's weird.
Rude.
I mean, I know you wanted to read the one that we wrote, but did you want to read something else of yours or anything? I mean, you know.
Dude, thank you for reminding me.
Yeah, of course, because I'll be right back in like a minute or two. So if you want to read something, it's not that I don't want to hear it, but I'll listen to it.
Yeah, sure, Phil. Sure. All right. So, who wants to hear one of my pieces? Okay, I'm going to read it. So this one's called Shadow Town. And I said, spoiler rigged. I love this because it is true, and often I have dreams that come true. So this is on a more like a more wisdom level of things. Hey, Missy, what's up? Hi, everyone. So yeah, for instance, I actually, this is on a side note. So I had a dream way back before, if you guys remember the volcano in Hawaii that erupted. I had a dream like a week and a half before that happened, and I have family out in California. And so in my dream, there was a volcano that had erupted. It was a super volcano, and it was over there. But it was like between Hawaii and California. It was like in the ocean. So, and I know that there's actually a super volcano over there. So I start like panicking because before this, like smaller things had been coming true in my dreams. And so, literally, I kid you not, and I have a video of myself recording my dream a week before this major thing happened. I get word that the volcano has erupted in Hawaii, and yeah, my dream wasn't exact, but it was very close, and it scared the shit out of me. So back on track here. That's this poem is sort of about what I dream, and yeah. So it's called Shadow Town. Different is enticing and unnerving. It can also be incredibly rewarding. The unknown is the most alluring and petrifying thing in the world. Hey. Yet that's where the bliss suffocates the stasis of smoldering mold, where alchemical alkaloids unfold, which is why last night in my dream I was told to evolve and change, to rearrange the disengaged black to beige thoughts that haze decadent daisy days, to vent rage that raids, to condense the imagination in futile rocky phases, on defense mode to distract the belittled blaze of day left, to reap what you have sown, not what you say, so say less. While the lack chases stagnation, warped degeneration, ingrained reflex impulses, shadows stacked in the latent, taking the right way, soul is swept away while the left may feel laminated. Vile virtues will vaccinate the vacant, only if you permit ego the payment. Breaking out of the tangible, whisking away to sublimation. While the menacing may be more manageable, I know I've had enough of this malaise. Unknown is my only way out of the maze. Cyclical cessation. Waking up today, I've never felt more elated.
Huh. Did you read that last part intentionally different, like with a different tone?
I did, because it was
Yeah, it was like you were speaking to somebody right initially, and then that was there. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Great, Kayla.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And to be honest with you, like I just when you do that, I mostly listen to like your tone and your rhythm. And yeah, I obviously get the main gist of what you're saying. But I think we're both writers and speakers in a sense that we think layered. So usually, like if I were to listen to you, I would also have like your piece sitting there, and then I would be able to get like both in all its immensity. But then when I just usually sit here and listen to you, I just sort of listen to that layer of you and appreciate it for that, and it's badass. Yeah, like Cindy said. She said kind of badass, but I'll just go straight badass.
Thanks.
I mean, I'll read one real quick. This is one I showed you and I showed a few other people this poem. I haven't posted it on Instagram. I don't know if it will.
Is this the one you sent me last night?
Yeah.
Cool.
And there's so much conversation that I have to look for it. I got it somewhere. Why am I looking for it? I got it right here. Okay. I haven't titled this one. I guess you can call it The Boxer. Withering winds, languid losses, hooks, crosses of victory vehemently with debilitating defeat. Tasting retreat like residual dried blood stuck between teeth, feet swept, lost rhythm of soul. I'm really fucking that up. Withering winds, languid losses, hooks, crosses, victory vehemently with debilitating defeat. Tasting retreat like residual dry blood stuck between teeth, feet swept, lost rhythm of soul. Rolling rage like punches which tollings are continuous crunches of internal organs, habitual hurts hung, hunched over yet bare bludgeons just summon rise of the falls residing inside. Knocked down on mortals matted with sweat like regret that salt holds hydration of sense, knew not of sound in defense, only violence of silence, only breached by onslaughts of oration of ongoing obliterating organic offense. Question stance whether one is the boxer or the bag, the lethargic lag of purpose, dizziness dealt by hands on surface, sure-fisted stings like bees, now seem like an ease of pointless toxin, learned the softness of leather belts, felt strength learned in lashings, witnessed to and clashings of prideless contenders and shameless champions, merely portrayals of pretenders. Fertilized fighter, despite the tadpole tucking-tailed, gestated survivor, despite the egg's genetic fail, born a boxer, deathly dance does enhance potency of life's palate, to taste sugar and blood, sweetness like rhythm, ferocity in feet, spit up ill delusions of victories, dehydrated the delusion of defeat.
Damn.
Yeah, I gotta work on reading that one. I was having a discussion with one of my friends who wrote a poem, and it was actually inspired. She said she was born a boxer. And it's also inspired by the Pearl Jam, the Yellow Ledbetter. I don't know whether I'm the boxer or the bag. You don't know if you're the one throwing the punches. You don't know if you're the one dictating the fight, or if you're just merely a bag being punched and beat on, by life.
I think you're both.
Yeah. Essentially you are. I mean, that's how, and then I think a lot of times we focus on the offensive of it, even the defensive of it, and we don't realize that life is about the stamina. Life is about the dance. It's about the rhythm. It's about finding your feet. It's about knowing your balance. It's about swiveling your hips and swaying and rolling with the punches and dancing around. A lot of times you don't even have to punch somebody to knock them out.
So, I really think that you are your only enemy. Anything else, anyone else is an illusion.
Yeah.
And it's all trying to teach you something. If someone comes at you, it's all trying to teach you something about yourself. So, yeah, you are the boxer, and you're the defenses you put up and you're the offenses. You're all of it. You are this complex freaking universe in yourself. That's how I took it.
I remember when I took boxing for a while, what my trainer told me in a sense was that if you're focused on what other people are doing, they're going to knock your ass out. If you focus on your feet and you focus on keeping your guard up and you focus on the way that you're throwing the punches and the way at which you are, if you focus on all the things that you need to do, then one day you'll come to the true conclusion that it doesn't matter what they do. You know what I mean? And in a sense, it doesn't seem to tell, because obviously you want to watch what they're doing, but what he's meaning is that that's part of self. It's part of the true sight. Once you are doing all the things in sequence, in a rhythm, in a form, those things will be revealed to you through what you do. So instead of actually looking and trying to, what we all think of as knowing what somebody is going to do, if we just do what we need to do for ourselves, those things are almost revealed to us without even us having to think about it, if that makes sense. Especially pertaining to something like boxing, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree.
Right.
I was going to say something like mid your sentence and I lost it. Great.
Yeah, that's what sucks. I do that all the time because I just go off on tangents.
I know.
You
I know. Me.
Thank you.
There was something. I don't remember. Oh, right. No, there was something you said about keeping your guard up. If you focus on keeping your guard up, I don't think that's what you actually meant, unless it is. You said instead of focusing on other people, keep your own. But I think it's about like not necessarily keeping your guard up, because if you do that, you're always expecting to be on defense. If you're always expecting a punch, then you're always going to be on defense. So I think kind of a poor metaphor for life. I think a better one would be more nurturing yourself and don't pay attention to what anyone else is doing, because really, unless you're the boxer and it's a bag and not you're fighting another person, then it's a great metaphor, I really think. But I don't think it's great to allude to it being like keeping your defense up. And yeah, you shouldn't be focused on other people, but I don't think you should absolutely not have defenses, because then you just might manifest all those punches coming your way.
And it's funny how just little words and the way that we say things can change something. Because like I think it's no, like if I said it's knowing to keep your guard up,
Mm-hmm.
or if I said it's knowing when to put your guard up.
Mm-hmm.
You know? Because that also signifies a knowingness of taking down your guard.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? In the instance that there's no need. It's not necessary. It's what we talked about in true connections or knowingness of self or other people. If we always have the guard up and we don't see that it's not necessary, that's as bad as not having your guard up when you need it. You know, and I think sometimes we justify having our guard up all the time as if it's okay. And in a sense it is, but it is not. I mean, that's kind of...
and you're not gonna be open to new people, new connections if you always have your defense up. You're always gonna expect the same thing, so you're always gonna get the same thing. But when you can put that down, when you can open the curtains and feel free to express yourself and not worry about what other people think, I really think that no one has really anything to hide. Even your deepest secrets, no one can use them against you if you yourself have accepted them. Unless you killed someone, you know, guys, come on. Don't be doing that. So,
yeah. Did you want to try to read this collaboration though?
Yes, let's do it. Want to just go back and forth? I think it'd be cool.
Yeah, we'll just read it how it is. That's fine. Whoever line is whoever's line.
Yeah, that sounds good. Yeah.
You can go ahead and read the first two lines, and then I'll start, and then we'll go back and forth. How about that?
Sounds good.
Okay, cool.
So Phil and I, for a little prequel, Phil and I wrote this last night, and Yeah, that's what happened. So here we go. Actions and incantations, auctioning what they're taking.
Bartered to highest bidders.
Serpents, hither on stage, they slither.
Out from cage, fanged venom to deliver.
Crowned king cobra, benumbing bite, quivers.
Killer boa, robbed royalty, or robed royalty, claimed statistical figures.
Ophidian families, just as falsified and fake as arthropods can be.
Obsidian black tragedies, no spine to define, to align center to mammalian morality.
Riddled and racked blasphemy, ingrained lines that misalign malevolent catastrophes, causing casualties, immoral baby baptistry.
Harbingers of habitual heresy, declaring the denouncement of false clergy, they cannot stir thee towards the heavenly, nor direct to the door of divinity. It is a sin to truly be free, instead cast into indentured subserviency.
Bargainers of perpetual irregeneracy. Bargainers of perpetual irregeneracy, embalming a clean casket, claimed coked legacy. Even basilisks shan't ignore the alchemy, a lure that implores at the door, clenched in its venture of inciting snake fervency.
Nice.
Yes, you too.
It's interesting. It actually did come out pretty well.
I really like that. I think I might want to post it. I think I might post it.
Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah, I mean, obviously we used a ton of snake metaphors, which is cool.
I know, but it was the best way. I feel like we're on the same page there. I mean, you're a Scorpio sun sign, but I have quite a bit of Scorpio in my chart here. It's the darker side of life, you know what I mean? Snakes are the ones that aren't the most beautiful creatures, but they're majestic in their own way.
And a lot of times I always feel bad for these snakes. I'm like, man, because it's like they're just creatures. You know what I mean? And it's just,
right?
Metaphorically, we use all these, negative aspects of a snake, when actually, when you really think of them, they're actually pretty cool.
Crocodiles are like the oldest reptile, the most ancient or something, and they're also seen as more...
Well, it's funny because you said, in the last one, you said basilisk. I always remembered seeing the pictures of those because, like, that was one of my things too. Like, I love that stuff, like ancient creatures and things.
Same.
I think of the basilisk and like the megalodon and like all the sea dinosaurs and stuff like that. And just imagine if I lived in a world like that and like we're sitting here bitching about what we got to deal with. I'm like, well, damn. That'd be really
I used to dream about that. I wanted to live in the world with the dinosaurs before the humans because they haven't destroyed the world yet. And we think they're the monsters, but look what we're doing. I shouldn't say we're, because...
And then something just eliminated the hell out of them, so it's like, what is that going to say about what's going to happen to us?
It's like evolving to create a bigger monster. I shouldn't say that. But humans can be the most divine creatures, the most kind, compassionate, and loving, or they can be the biggest monsters, depending on if they choose soul and ego. So I think that's what that's... We used a lot of different metaphors in there, but I really think...
Yeah. Like I said, I really liked Ophidian. Like, that's one that I'm going to have to incorporate into my vocabulary.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool.
I like harbingers.
Yeah. I always liked it because it has sort of that, dark kind of tone to it. Harbinger.
Yeah, I really like that.
Tree and Littlefoot.
Yeah, I was thinking we were talking about Ducky and Spike.
And then I went off on some tangent, see how I was going to make like of Land Before Time, where they were like in prison, and like Spike and Ducky were like, prisoners or something, or I don't know. It was going to be some crazy shit, because like.
Weird.
One of the premise of the Land Before Time, isn't it, is that they're like trying to find like their parents and like their family or something. So to me, it made some sort of analogy to sort of like growing up in a bad environment or a home and not really having the family or the tutelage of growing up. And then I'm like, well, shit, Spike and Ducky are going to end up in locked up, because they're going to turn to a life of crime to get like the the nourishment, like the leaves that they need or whatever, it's going to start being scarce, and they're going to have to start stealing it and turn into a life of dinosaur crime. And that's kind of weird.
Well, no, I get that too. I make up short stories all the time. Like, I've written a short script, and it's a very weird storyline, all right? I'm not going to lie to you. It's a very weird storyline, but I'm not going to say it because I'm still mailing it into... No, I don't think I'm going to mail it in, but I really have, like... It's fun when you can make... Because you can make up literally anything in your head, and you almost always, even if you don't realize it, there's a deeper meaning to everything. Even talking about freaking Littlefoot and the Land Before Time, there's a deeper meaning to all of it. And, like, you said the prison, it could also portray, like, growing up in a very restrictive household where you couldn't be yourself. So you're in, like, a prison of the mind. And,
yeah.
So, yeah, it's really...
I think it was, like, a lot of different, like,
dinosaur
different types of, even children in a sense, like there was Sarah who was like, like, oh God, like chill.
Yeah, it was
and then there was like Littlefoot that was like, oh no, don't do it, guys. So,
I'd idealist.
And then there was like Ducky who was just like an OG, like didn't care. And then there's like Spike that was just like, ooh. and so, I mean, I think if you were a child watching it, you could at least attach onto somebody or parts of all those things,
I think Littlefoot's the wide-eyed optimist with mommy issues, not in like a negative way. And then it's I was just kind of throwing that out there. Little darker perception there. Missy. All right, moving forward.
I don't know. I think that's a good good closing right there.
I think you're right. So, yeah, this is good. It's a fun time.
I think we did a pretty good job sort of connecting to poetry and sort of the thought and different aspects of it, I mean, and it's funny because I didn't even necessarily intend to do that, and it's just funny when you put yourself into like a certain kind of space or energy, how you can kind of see like all these things and different things.
Well, we both offer very different perspectives, but also have a similar moral lining and spiritual lining. So it just adds to this like serious complexity. Plus, we're both very like complex and deep thinkers, and after the same goals of enlightenment. So it's good energy. You can tell, like, if I was on here with maybe someone else who didn't understand that as much, it wouldn't be as free flowing or thought provoking.
Yeah, I had a really good time and a good chat.
Later, you two was more entertaining than Netflix. Perfect. That's the goal.
Well, if Netflix wants to hire us and pay us all that money, I'm more apt to do that.
I'm absolutely done. Absolutely.
All right, well, we'll do it next Sunday then, or what?
Yeah, sounds good. We'll see everyone next Sunday.
I'll see you later.
All right. Bye.
Bye. Bye, everyone.